Hey everybody, coming at you with another exciting video. Well, exciting for me because I love doing what I do. Well, let's take a walk and talk a little bit about this. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be showing you a very cool woodcrafting, bushcrafting type technique for making frames for either beds, tables, chairs, or stools. And it's really cool. And you survival folks out there, you may be looking at this and thinking that this is like too much effort. Well, it kind of is, because this is not a survival technique at all. Okay, the way I'm showing you these tables, it's more along the lines of like camping, bushcraft, woodcrafting, possibly wilderness living. Okay, it's not necessarily a survival technique, because you know those survival techniques, those are for more like whenever you're you know, as least amount of expenditure of energy as possible, get the job done, survive, sleep, and get out of the woods. This is a cool one because for those of you that think like me, that carry, if you carry a machete and a folding saw, a machete, a knife, and a folding saw. Now I know years ago there was a different trio. There was the, I think it was an axe, a knife, and I think a multi-tool. I think that was the traditional one. And the name slips me right now. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, for me, my number one trio, I like an axe, but and I like a multi-tool. But for me, my trio is the machete, the knife, and the folding saw. Okay, and so that's pretty much all you need. If you got it and you got a bunch of free time, and if you've got the energy, you can make a really cool frame for either a table, a chair, a stool, or a bed. This thing works for any of them. It's fantastic. It's fun. It's fun for you, fun for the kids. It teaches you sawing and carving, and it teaches you how to use the old eye too. So let's get into this and see what we can get done. Now, while I was looking for some wood for this, you know, if this was long-term wilderness living skills, you could start with green wood, but I'm looking for dead wood. Dead wood's easier to carve too. I come across something here I've got to show you. This is something else. Let's start up here at this other end. I got to show you this. This has nothing to do with the bed, but I got to show you. This is just awesome. Let me turn the camera around. See this tree that's falling down? All right. It's not a real big tree. I'm gonna hold my hand up to it. See the size of that tree? I want you to look at the root on it. Oh, something's hitting me. Let me get back here out of the water. Look at the root on that thing. That's amazing. That's just mind-boggling, that root. Step back a minute. If you had to, you could make that'd be a real heavy-duty basis for a shelter. You could lay like a log up on top and go forward. All right, enough of that. Let's get back on our bed, table, chair frame. All right, now for starters, what you want to do is, with these frames, the top 4 pieces are going to be in equal length, and then the legs will be in equal length. Okay. Now, unless it's a bed. If it's a bed, the top pieces will be 2 short ones and 2 long ones, but the legs will be all the same, and you'll have short legs. If it's a stool, you'll have 4 tall legs. If it's a chair, the legs and the top pieces will be all about the same. So that right there doesn't make much sense, but it will in a minute. All right, let's see. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to get you a stick, a measuring sticks, to make sure that you're going to saw each one the same. All right, I got a nice square end right there, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find me some wood, and I'm going to saw out 4 pieces the same length. Okay. Now here's a good example of what you're looking for. You're looking for a dead tree but it's not laying on the ground. See, it's up in the air, it's nice and dry. It's not experiencing a bunch of rot. Well, there's an even bigger one over there, if you want to build an even bigger frame. So let's see what we can do with this one right here. I'm gonna hack a few of those vines out of the way first, so that I can get a piece out that I can lay on the ground and make it a little bit more manageable. Let's see. All right. Alright, I think this piece might work. It looks like a pretty good piece. We'll try it. It's got a big crack down the middle, but it's basically pretty solid wood. Alright, now that I have the wood down on the ground, what I'm going to do is I'm going to saw me off some pieces that are going to be the right length. So, I don't like those two knots on the end, so I'm going to saw them off. Alright, so what I do is I take this piece and I lay it up there, and I use that as a guide. Alright, now that we've got our pieces all sawed, what we're going to do next is we got 4 equal length pieces, and what we're going to do is they've all got to be made the same, and I'm going to show you how to make the ends of them, how to prepare them. Okay. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do, you can lay these logs on another log and step on them to hold them, and I may do that later, but sometimes it's easier just to find 2 trees close together and shove the log down in between them so you can do all your work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this log and I'm just going to stuff it right in here. Alright. And that's going to hold it in a reasonable manner. Now what you want to do is you want to saw through about 1/3 of the way on each side, and the length end needs to be about the diameter of the log you're using or more. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set this right here and I'm going to eyeball it, and it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of right there. Alright, I'm going to saw in maybe about 1/3 of the distance in. Okay. Now I'm going to come over on this other side and I'm going to set this log on here, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Alright, so what I've done here now is I've sawed 1/3 through of the way on each end in the same plane. Okay, so doesn't make much sense, but it's fixing to in a minute. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out before I do any more sawing. Let's ease down here to the ground. Let's see if I can adjust the camera. Okay, yeah, you can see right here. So what we're going to do now, and in the process of all this, I may just, now, I don't know how that's going to work out in editing or not, but I was complaining earlier, or thinking earlier, about how, I don't know what the deal is with this idiotic sheath on this Condor Village Parang. But it's got to the point where it's almost impossible now to pull out of the sheath. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's, I don't know, but I have totally sliced my thumb open. And I spared you the gory details of it bleeding everywhere. But I managed to put something on it. But anyway, I'm going to continue on with the video. But I don't know, it just, that thing, maybe the leather's gotten dry, I don't know. But that was bad, that hurt, it cut deep when I pulled it out. And the worst part is right up here on the edge, where I've got it razor sharp, that's where I do carving. This is not as sharp, the chopping part, but this part's what got me. That hurt. It can happen. If you play with a machete or an axe long enough, you're going to get cut. Okay, so I'm gonna get my canteen, wash my hand off, and then we'll finish what we were doing. A valuable life's lesson, okay? All right, now back to the video. I'm all bandaged up and ready to go. I just don't want to get any dirt in it. So what you're gonna do now, let's see. You're gonna baton off part of this right here, just like that. All right, now flip it over and let's baton the other part. Make sure that it's reasonably flat within what I just did. All right, now that's pretty good right there. This is where some of your practice comes into place, where you get both of them in the same plane. So now what you want to do is you want to put it in a tree like this. It's easy over here, so I can see what I'm doing. Now what you want to do is you want to put it in a tree. And see how that right there is on a flat plane right there? Well, what you want to do, ease it up. You want to turn it upside down and you want to saw on this side next. Right above where you just sawed. On both sides. Now it's supposed to be in the center, but I sawed just a little bit too deep. It's supposed to be directly in the center, what you're supposed to wind up with. I'll try to be more careful this time, but I'm not exactly myself right now. But at this point, I just want to get it all done so I can show you the basic idea behind it. All right, so what you want to do now is you want to lay this on top. Yeah, this ain't going to be in the center, but I want to get the basic idea across. All right, just like that. Let's do the other side. I tried to do a little bit better on that next one. Let's see. That's pretty close right there. This other one, I definitely sawed too much off of this side. But that's what you want. You want a flat in each plane. Okay? So now I'll show you the next step. What we're going to do is we're going to shove it in this tree right here. Put it right here. Alright, put it in that tree and I'm going to move you in a little bit closer and I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. Take a little bit of explanation. Alright, so I've got it in the tree here now, and what I'm going to do is, let's say for example, this is the center line of this. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over a little bit and I'm going to cut a notch the width of whatever I think these are and half the depth. Okay. Now I hope this don't break off. Alright, now sometimes that pops off and sometimes it doesn't. This has got a crack, it may break off. Alright, you do that to both sides and then you'll baton off that middle part right there, or pop it out with your knife. This right here was supposed to be a full piece, but it fell out on its own. And this is pretty weak right here, so I hope it don't break off. But if it does, I'm going to show you right now what this is supposed to look like. I see it did break off. I can still use this piece, but this is not the way it's supposed to look. This is supposed to stay on there like that. Where'd it break off? Right there. That's the way it's supposed to look, and hopefully the other two will stay that way. Now I went and found some more pieces of wood for the top 4 pieces, because having that huge pronounced split in it is not good. Okay, it'll be okay for the 4 legs, but not this. So I went and I got some more, because all that split does is just mess you up. So I'm gonna prepare this one just like the other one, and I'm gonna show you how the notching really should be. There's a tiny bit of a crack, and that right there is where you want your machete to baton. Get the other side. See how well it does. Yeah, that's a lot more solid wood. If you look long enough, you'll find some good solid wood. Now sometimes when you baton these things come out perfectly even like this, and then sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're a little bit, they'll have a big old hump on one side. But that's nothing that a machete can't take care of. All you want to do with that is just lay it on the ground. Just so I can see what I'm doing. All you want to do is just lay that on the ground and stick your foot on it. Remember, safety first. And then you just want to kind of hack on it a little bit with your machete. And see, then you can wind up with a nice square edge like this. That's pretty square. That's all you got to do, a little trimming. All right, I didn't have to cut down a live tree, but I did find good solid wood, so let's see how this one works. I'm hoping this will work perfect. Yep, see, it's in there nice and solid. Now let's ease down to the ground right here. Let's see if we can see what we're doing. See, it's bad sometimes having to use this old dead wood, but it's environmentally very responsible. You can't, us outdoorsmen, we just can't go out killing live trees constantly, because there's dead wood everywhere. Okay, you lay the knife on it, give it a hit. Now that is what it should look like. Okay, every end should look just like this. All right, now sometimes you can put the knife in there without beating it in, and if you got good enough grip, because you don't want your hand to slip down on the hand, on the blade, but you can like put your thumb on the back and push and then hold here, and sometimes you can push instead of beating it in. But that's what you want. You want both of them up on one piece of wood. That's what it's supposed to look like. Even though this broke off on the other one, we're going to use it because it ain't going to hurt a thing. Alright? Now sometimes you'll leave all this stuff oversized and trim it to a super tight fit. But seeing as how I'm being stupid today, I'm just going to cut everything and hope it all throws together. Alright? Just for the idea of showing you the design of the frame. Now that I have managed to get my way through 4 of these, this is what they're supposed to look like. Okay? Flat with notches on each end, all identical. Alright? Now, let's try to put them together so that I can show you how they go together. Alright? You get the basic idea once they do it. It's just like a big old jigsaw puzzle. Alright? So the way these work is these things go together just like that. And now you can understand why I say that if you want to, you can make these bigger so that you can trim them. Now that right there is a perfect fit. An absolute perfect fit. The more you do these, and the more careful you are, the better off you're going to get. Alright, so let's put that together and let's see if this one fits together. Put that one together. See, that one's pretty loose right there. Now this one, what I'm going to do is, you can see it's got a little bit of a nub, so it ain't going to hurt a thing. see it? And there you go. Now this is going to be the top part. Alright, now that's the basic idea. This is the frame. It's already got a little bit of strength. And if you make these notches a little bit big, then you can trim them with a knife and pound everything together. See, this already doesn't move much. And that's what they look like. Alright, so I'm going to set that right there now. This is the idea. This is the frame for the top of the table or the chair. Now, if you was going to make a bed, 2 of these runners would be body length. Okay. Now for a bed, you want to use a little bit bigger wood. Alright, so that you've got some strength here in these joints. Now let's go to the legs. Alright, we got the top part done, so now what I'm going to do is I got me another measuring stick. I think I'm running out of wood, so I'm going to make the legs real short. Okay, this will be like a short table, but like I said, you get the basic idea. Okay, I'm going to saw 4 of them this size, this length. Alright, you got your 4 pieces right here, same length. Alright, now in this case, if you've got a little bit of a crack in the wood, I'll show you how to deal with that. The legs, you only have to deal with one side. Now I'm going to show you how to saw that. This should go a little faster. Okay, you can see it pretty good. Let me ease you down here just a little bit. Alright, now what you want to do, alright, you go on either side of that split. Now what I usually do is I will saw until it's about 1 finger worth above my blade. Alright, now I'm going to go up here, and that's how I get the depth of it. Now if it was a bed, you might want to cut the full depth of the log. Alright, about 1 finger's worth. Now what I'm going to do, pull it out and turn it over, and then I'm going to cut it this way. About 1 finger worth. Alright, then cut it again. You're cutting it 4 times. Now, you got 2 cuts here, 2 cuts here. And to give it an extra help, I'm going to cut 1 down the middle and 1 in the middle, because that actually helps carving, getting all this wood out. Makes no sense now, but it will in a minute. Alright, you can see the basic idea here. We got 2 cuts through here, 2 cuts through here. And what you're doing is you're going to wind up leaving 4 corners. Now, to aid in getting this out, I want to show you this first, so that you can understand this is waste, this is waste, this, and this will stay. 4 corners will stay, okay? Now, to aid in getting this apart, what we're going to do is we're going to saw right down the middle. Same depth. Now if you'll notice on this back side, I've got my hand on it and I'm pulling in this direction. See, I'm pulling in this direction, helping to hold it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull it out and flip it over. Holding it between these trees it's really a safe method of dealing with it. Alright, so now you can see what we're doing. Now see, there's pieces already coming out. So now you take your knife and you carve all that middle out of it. Alright, I got you on the ground down here where you can kind of see what we're doing. Alright, now there's a few different ways of doing this thing. If I can get my machete out without cutting my finger off. I want you to see this. I want you to see this. Okay, see what I'm doing right here now? I got both of these unsnapped. I want you to watch this. Look at that. I don't know what's going on. Something has happened. This thing has never... Something is going on. That has never been that hard to get out. I think what I need to do is need to put some more wax on that thing and rub it inside the sheath. Anyway, I just kind of threw that little part in because, you know, these things happen and you just really have to maintain your equipment. And with me, I've got so many machetes that a lot of times they'll just lay around the house. And I don't know, I guess maybe the leather gets dry. Alright, so let's take a look here now, y'all. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can just take the knife and you can just kind of push on it like that and pop the pieces out. Alright, just like that. Now, the idea behind that for you little kitties is you don't want to slide your hand down on that blade when you're doing that. Okay, now on the larger ones, like say if you were making a bed and you had really big logs, sometimes what you can do is you can take that machete and you can put it right on the end of the cut, just like that. Put the edge right on here on the edge, aim towards the other cuts, and you can give it a hit in that direction. And sometimes you can pop it out like that. Okay. Now, the idea behind, now that won't pop out because it's too small, but I wanted to show you that. Now, the idea behind putting that extra cut in the middle right here is because it weakens this part. You want this stronger than this part so that when you're popping all these out, you ain't got to worry about it breaking. Knots are bad, as you can see. Knots cause problems. But I'm only going to do one leg like this. I'm going to bore you to death by doing one leg because this is pretty time consuming. And like I say, this is why this is not necessarily any kind of a survival tactic at all. This is more for camping, bushcrafting, long-term wilderness living skills. For, you know, like if you were setting up, if you wanted to build you a cabin, you know, and you wanted to have some real nice furniture in it or something, then you could build stuff like this. Now I can tell this one ain't narrow enough. This one I accidentally sawed over to an angle, and I'll show you how to take care of that in a minute. Same thing with this one here. This one is sawed over at an angle. Now see how this crack goes up in here? This crack is what you wanted this opening in. Now I know this may be boring, but I'm doing this part to show you how to get all this out. It's just a slow process, you know, popping all these things out. You want to get all this stuff out of the way right here. And maybe I'm interesting to listen to while I'm doing this. Maybe. Okay, now when you're at this point, you can start breaking these things over towards these openings here. Okay. You can do this with a Mora, but it needs to be one of those HQ Moras. Let's just see if I can just push this down. There you go. Alrighty. And that's what you've got right there. Let's ease you up a little bit. And that's what it looks like. It's a you've just put a crisscross notch in it. Now if it's a bed frame, like I said, you want to saw all the way down full width of the log for strength. But something like this, it doesn't matter. And some of these pieces right inside here, you'll just want to kind of trim them out a little bit. Just a little. Now this one right here that's tapered, what you're going to want to do with it is just kind of shave it, trim it off in some thin shavings. That's where a good sharp knife comes in handy. Just little thin shavings. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the camera off, and I'm going to make 4 of these because it's so time consuming. I just took 5 minutes to show you how to chop the insides out of this one, and that doesn't include the sawing time. So once these are all done, then I'll get back with you and we'll show you how it all goes together. One thing I want to say is, if you'll notice, I don't have my hand right here when I'm sawing. I have it around here on the back side, away from all the cutting action. See, that way if a piece here breaks off, the saw won't fly into my hand because my hand will be on the back side, back here. Alright, I got all 4 of these done right here, and they're the same length. And that is a considerable amount of work. Alright, they're all the same. Now I know there's going to be somebody complaining, saying, "Oh, that's too much work." Well, yeah, it may be too much work for a survival expert, but for a bushcrafter or a woodcrafter that loves this as a hobby, this is nothing but fun. Alright, now some of this stuff here, what you want to do is you want to kind of eyeball these. Okay, you got 4 of these, 4 of these. You want to kind of eyeball these to see how close a lot of these are, to see if they're going to fit. And this one right here pretty much doesn't fit hardly any of them. And I don't want to beat them together. So in that case, what you want to do is you can either baton them or you can carve them with a knife. Like say, just lay it on the ground, put your foot on it, put your hand on the back side back here, and you can just kind of carve away on it. Okay? Just turn it like this. Now you don't want to carve into the ground if you think there's any rocks, but I know for a fact this is nothing but pine straw. It's a couple of inches deep of pine straw because this area has never been developed. It's been nothing but forest for a very long time. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you've got some room left where you've sawed it, if you got the nerve to, now if this piece wasn't already broken off, it probably would break off now. If you got the nerve to, you can baton it more. That ain't gonna baton. There ain't enough to baton, so I'm just gonna kind of carve on it. Let's see if this fits a little better. See, that's what you want right there. You want something that's tight enough that it's gonna hold itself in. That is what you're looking for. Each and every joint should be that tight. Alright, so let's see. Check a few more of these. Now that one's kind of tight. So's that one. I think I'm going to trim on this one just a little bit. Like I said, you got to be careful with this dry stuff or you'll break it. Trim that with a knife a little bit. I'll trim this one a little bit. Always watch them hands. See, there's still kind of a hump in it right there. See how this fits. Now it's getting a little better. Alright, let's try to put this thing together. I think we're about ready to put all this together now. So, let's put, where are they? I'm going to start with these. Let's put this one on this side, this one on this side, and this one here. Alright, let's see if this thing will go together. Let's lift this up. Slide a leg on. Turn this around. Alright, I got two legs on right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up that other side and put it on. I'm going to get the whole table in shot. Or chair, or stool, or whatever you want to call it. Now I think this one here is going to need some more carving. Yeah. I think. Yeah, a little more carving on this corner right here. Because I think if I pound that in, the others fit perfect. And if I pound this one in, it's going to break one of these legs off. So I'm going to carve a little bit more off. That's a pretty good sign if it stays up with just 3 legs. Alright. Just thin pieces. Good to go. Alright, I made it a little bit bigger. So, let's see if it works. Beat this thing together. There you go. Perfect fit. Nice and solid. And there you go. Back you up a little bit. That's it. I'll get you down close for a little bit better view. Okay, now like I was saying, this could either be a table, it could be a chair, it could be a bed, it could be a stool. It all depends on the length of the runners and the legs. And see, now all you got to do is you just gather up your bunch of sticks and lay the sticks on the top of it like this for your top. Or you can do the old trick that I love doing, baton some wood and just lay one up, one down, one up, one down. And then there you've got it. Now that's what I prefer because that makes a better, more solid surface. Nice and cozy. Let's see if it holds all my weight. Now these things, they're even stronger. I kind of threw this together. I know it took a while to film this video, but they're actually much stronger if you will hand fit and carve every single joint. Now, if you were doing like a cabin full of furniture and you wanted that furniture to last forever, this is the way to do it right here, okay? And it's fantastic. It's such a cool frame. So basic of a frame, but it does take a lot of time, but it's worth the time. Woodcrafting, bushcrafting, if you enjoy it, this is your project. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. Stay safe. Anybody at any time can get cut. When you're messing around with blades, you can get cut at any time. I got cut. It was a very stupid mistake. I'm not ashamed to show it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know how it is, things happen. And until the next one, I shall see you in the next one.